You may be a parent. You may have had parents. You may have met parents. You do have an opinion about parenting. We are Things I Found Online. I am Louise Palanker, and our guest is parenting coach Katherine Saltzberg. Also on the panel, we have parents with their kids, Leslie Sackheim and Josh Sackheim, Lisa Arch, Garrett Arch, and his friend Dresden. Dresden, have you been issued parents? Do you know their location?
I hope so.
All right, so when you talk into the microphone, Dresden, you're going to have to get as close to it as I am. Everyone is present and accounted for. So we have Kate, and I guess your professional name is Katherine Saltzberg, and you can find Kate online at icoachmoms.com. There it is. Kate, give us a little bit about of the background as to what led you towards a course of parenting coaching.
All right. Well, I was having a lot of trouble with my kids, and I'm a stepmom, and then we have our own, and I was pretty desperate. I tried a lot of things. My son was not listening to anything that I was saying, and then I heard a parenting expert on a radio show, and I found myself on the other end of the phone calling him up, desperate for him to tell me, what do I do? What's wrong with my kid that he's not listening to me? And he said, it's all you. And that was very sobering to hear.
So how many days do you spend crying after you're delivered that news?
So it was pretty sobering, I have to say. And then he said, this is really an issue about boundaries. Yes, an issue of boundaries. And then he gave me basically the answers to these. Well, it was a $64,000 answer. He said, nothing that you have tried up until this point, everything you've read, all the experts, all the things in Parents Magazine are not going to work. They're going to fail every time. So I said, what do I do? So I changed course. I stopped listening to all of the experts that I was listening to up until that point.
All right, if the so-called experts are giving faulty advice, why are they classified as experts? Like, what is going wrong in the universe that is giving a platform to so many quacky advice givers? From what I've read on your website, it's a lot simpler. People are overthinking this and giving too much power to their children and giving everyone a trophy, and that's not really making the child happier. So why is there so much disinformation out there?
Well, I don't think, and they're, these are people that are, I have respect for them. They have lots of education, more education than I ever will. And this is being perpetuated, I think, really because when you're invested, when you invest a lot of your time in studying something, and whether you're the expert and then you're the parent who's going down that road, investing your time and money, I just think it's like when you're in a bad relationship, all the red flags are there, but you don't want to look at them.
So it's difficult to give up a philosophy that you've invested a lot of your time and your study and your life into. How much, we've got parents here on the panel, how much research did you do while parenting your kids, Leslie? Or how many books and websites have you been to?
Well,
yeah, Mom. How many websites did you go to?
For me, it started like when we brought you home from the hospital, and everybody was telling us how to raise you and what to do. And for me, that was the problem, because instead of listening to how you were feeling or what you were saying, I was listening to everybody else, and that did not work. That actually was a complete disaster.
Well, I mean, it wasn't a total disaster.
Yeah, he seems fine. I mean, you've kept him alive, so
yay!
There he is.
There's been some bumps in the road.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. He survives his childhood. This
credit
is a
where
good
credit is due.
happy ending. Lisa, how about you?
I did crazy amounts of websites while I was pregnant to make sure that I was doing everything right to give birth to a healthy baby, and then I continued on the websites for a while. but realized that my child was not following any of the standards that I was.
I think I know what the problem is. The kids aren't reading the websites.
Right. That is the problem.
They don't know.
Yes.
Okay, this is the script. I say, and then you do what? Hey, study your lines.
But I have to say, Garrett was far easier than everyone was telling me it was going to be. So I sort of was like, then you think, well, then I must be doing something wrong in that way because it's supposed to be harder than this. But as he's gotten older, I think we face challenges that I wasn't really expecting. But I had amazing parents as role models. And I think when I accepted that I was never going to be perfect and that I was going to constantly make mistakes, even though my intentions were always the best, I sort of calmed down a little bit and realized that no matter what I do, I'm going to screw up and I'm going to do things right and he will be okay.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that Kate teaches is that children are sort of fully baked people.
Yep.
And you can have an effect on them, but you don't change who they are. Can you elaborate?
That's well said. I think that one thing that we threw the baby out with the bathwater. So we've forgotten that children have minds of their own. And the message to parents, mostly mothers, has been since the late 60s, early 70s, is that every breath you take, every move you make, that's how they're going to turn out. And what it sounds like that you did was at some point went, you know what, I'm going to do the best I can. And he's going to take from it either what I intend or make a decision on his own. So they have minds of their own. And so my message to moms mostly, and some dads, is just relax. You're a major influence, but they're going to decide ultimately. They're going to take the information that you give them, so maximize it, but they are going to make decisions about what they want to do with that information.
Yeah. What I have to say, too, is I will stop myself a lot. Like there are times I took him to school late today because he had a doctor's appointment this morning. He's not sick. When I was leaving, I so shouldn't reveal this because you just don't listen. Everything in me wanted to go look at him in the lunch yard because it was lunchtime and to just go bye one more time. And I was like, Lisa, don't do that. He's 11. He doesn't want to see your face there. Walk to your car. And I was so aware of that moment and that I had to talk myself out of doing something that I instinctually wanted to do because he needs to just live his life. So those moments are coming up more and more for me, and I find them hilarious because I always notice them.
No, but it's funny that you can laugh at yourself.
Oh, Louise, how can I not?
But there's a lot of people who can't.
That's true.
That's what makes them exhausting.
You're right.
You're
right.
Or your kids laugh at you. My daughter just left for her semester abroad to go to France, and she was going up the escalator. She got to security, and she's like, "Mom, you have to stay here. You can't go past security." And I was having a really hard time with it.
That's the thing you miss the most about pre-9/11 America is being able to go all the way with your child.
Yeah, till moments before the plane took off.
Sure. Oh, I can't even imagine. That is what I just said times a bazillion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going on a plane.
Yeah.
Oh, please. So now, Kate, you studied with John Rosamond. Would
Yes.
you like to sort of describe and explain his parenting philosophies? Because they tend to differ from a lot of the new agey kind of
touchy-feely.
Yeah, that's good. That's
Right.
good. Touchy-feely. Yeah. So explain John Rosamond's philosophies.
Well, very simply, in a nutshell, he believes children need two things: unconditional love and leadership. So today's parents are very much in relationship with their kids. So, for example, I had a client this morning, and she was saying, my daughter won't get in the bath, and we're telling her how wonderful baths are and that she really has to bathe. And then we said, we're not going to give you your computer time tomorrow if don't get in the bath. And so there was no leadership in that anywhere. They expected their daughter to say, when you put it like that, I think I'm going to get in.
I'm seeing baths differently.
That's right. Exactly.
So what you're saying is they try to reason with the child.
Correct.
They try to reward the child
Yes.
instead of just saying, this is how it's going to be. You live here, so you're getting in the bath.
Yes. And now some people think, well, this guy, John Rosamond, he's just terrible. He's Attila. He's, beating his, telling his parents to beat their kids. And no, he's, in fact, when you're a relaxed parent, and you can attest to this, and you have some humor, your presence is calming in the house. So he's saying that you can still have humor, and you can still, you can be very relaxed, but you can say to your child, this is what I expect of you.
I just want to say, just for the record, because I don't want to put out a false image of who I am. Mm-hmm. There is nothing calm about me in my house ever, and I think my son can attest to that. I am a lunatic all the time.
Okay, well, but you seem like a very loving lunatic.
Very loving, and I certainly can laugh at myself.
I mean, even though a parent like my mom might get frustrated sometimes, it doesn't mean that they're not a calming presence in the house. Because without my mom, I wouldn't be alive. I wouldn't be eating. I wouldn't be anything, honestly.
Yeah, you're going to have to go look for a place.
But it's sort of, you got to look at it as they're not, even though they might not be quote unquote calming, they are a presence that you want in the house.
Is it also familiar to you? You know your mom's personality, and you know that this is the kind of thing that sort of pushes her to the edge, but she'll be back. It's okay.
Yeah. This morning and last night, it's been crazy. I'm embarrassing my mom right now.
Should you want to know why last night was crazy?
Sure.
Not way off topic.
I really do want to know.
Because this is actually good. And I also want to make it very clear that I am in therapy. Mm-hmm. And I have anxiety, and I am learning a lot over the last couple of years on how to manage that and be a calmer influence. But I'm also, when I'm not, I'm very aware of it, and I say, I'm sorry, I'm going through something right now.
And that's awesome. Is that awesome? I think
that's
awesome.
I think it's great. You have a sense of humor, and you have awareness. Awareness is the beginning of change.
Right. Yeah.
And so we clean things up.
Sure.
And we teach them how to clean things up.
And literally, because last night I put 5 eggs on the stove to hard boil and then promptly sat down to watch The Office with my darling husband and son.
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't I? And then the microwave timer went off, and I go, does anybody know what that was for? And we all go, no. And I'm like, that's weird. I don't get up to check because clearly I said it. So then 20 minutes goes by, and I hear this from the kitchen, and I go, does anybody know what that sound is? And Garrett goes, I think it's the dishwasher. And I go, that's still going? Because I think I started it 7 hours prior.
Right.
And then only when the eggs started exploding all over the kitchen. I'm not joking. Truly exploding all over the kitchen. Did all of us get up from the couch?
Eggs were like, just kill me. I can't.
So last night, then I had a little bit of a panic attack, but probably less than I normally would have. But because I was also laughing, I thought it was hysterical.
Okay, see,
I was laughing more than anything.
Oh my God.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of thing where you should at least have the awareness to say this will one day be funny.
Right. Oh, and it already is today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is today. All right. So, so you are a contributing expert on John Rosamund's. Please give that a shout out.
Parent Guru.
Okay.
Yes.
You guys have that link, Parent Guru?
Parent Guru. I'm one of the coaches. There's many wonderful coaches on that site.
So would you say, Leslie, that you have, after successfully raising 2 humans, that you have a parenting philosophy?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I really do. Because I have a 28-year-old and a 20-year-old, and what I've learned is to listen to them, and communicate with them, and just listen and let them talk to you, and that's what works. Because what wasn't working, what I was talking about earlier, is when I was listening to everybody else, and everybody has an opinion on how to raise your child. Or everybody wants to put a label on your kid. Your kid's this, your kid's that. Just let your kid be. Let them be who they want to be. With Emma, I remember that when she started kindergarten, she went through this phase where she wanted to wear giant basketball shorts and big giant jerseys. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And she
she looked like in the movie, I don't know if anyone will remember this, in the movie Space Jam, when the NBA players lose their powers and they shrink down and they're just these little men in these giant jerseys. That's kind of what she looked like.
She sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And, that's what she wanted to wear to school every day.
So would you say, Kate, that in terms of, choosing your battles, like stuff like pink hair or what your child wants to wear, those are things that you should, in other words, will they be more receptive to bath time when they have other ways to express who they are?
No, I don't think they'll be more receptive to bath time if they have other ways. When they're 6 years old, if they don't want a bath, they don't want a bath.
Right.
Letting them express themselves to their heart's desire is not going to make them in that moment more receptive to bath time.
Right.
That said, I think you're correct. Leslie, right? Leslie, you're correct in that you want to listen to your kids. And it really depends on your value system. So let's say your kid goes to a religious school, probably not a good idea to let them go with pink hair because that's probably not
so
what
those
they're going to want. So
wouldn't apply to that situation.
Correct, but it's really, you do have to pick your battles in that sense. Parents today do more micromanagement, which is a lot of the problem, than at any time. So you have the helicopter parents, then you have the millennials that are more flying side by side.
Mm-hmm.
Gen Xers were, hovering.
Oh, now we're co-piloting.
And then you have your co-piloting.
That's
Okay.
brilliant.
So,
Wow.
so I think that, you do listen to your kids as long as you're really clear that it's okay for you to be the loving, authoritative parent.
Mm-hmm.
But, as a parent of a millennial, I feel like a lot of those parents were really big helicopter pilots.
It's not all of them are this way. Some are helicoptering, some are co-piloting. But I think the main problem that we have today is that parents are really afraid, and they are afraid to tell their kids what to do.
In other words, you're doing this and I don't have to give you a reason or a reward. You're just doing this.
Well, when they're older, and communication, you said it well, it's all about communication. If you're a good communicator, that's where your parenting, that's where it starts. You're not going to jump to consequences and this and methods. It's all about effective communication. Mm-hmm. And so when your kids are very small, yes, you can tell them, you're doing this because it's the right thing to do. Or if you don't want to say because I said so, you can say because that's what your father and I decided, or that's what I decided. When they're little. When they're older, it is nice to give them a reason. It is nice to hear them. The problem is when we are hesitant because we don't trust ourselves. We're afraid we're going to damage our kids if we don't let them have their way. Mm-hmm. There's some kind of trauma that's going to be created.
He's going to hate me.
That's the number one right there. My child is not going to like me. And, this is postmodern psychological parenting. And that's really what it's called, is this postmodern parenting, that there was a time many years ago, maybe 40, 50 years ago, where parents didn't care whether they were liked or not. They were concerned with raising a good kid. Mm-hmm. And then they became friends with the kid later, if the personalities would allow. A lot of parents want, like siblings, they want siblings to get along. I just want them to get along and love each other. Well, the only way to do that is to have had them 18 years apart, or just have one child and that's it. So siblings will be as close as their personalities allow. Mm-hmm. And same with, parents. If you put friendship first, chances are you're not going to be respected.
Yeah, but what if the kid is really cool?
Like you? That's
yeah. Okay. What if the mom can't help it because this hypothetical kid is just so unbelievably awesome?
Yeah, and she just wants to be his pal.
Maybe you got to cut her some slack in that situation. But I'm with you on your points as a child and your points about listening. And I think my mom, for the most part, was a very good listener. I will also say, as a child, and I don't know what your experiences have been here, but sometimes it also doesn't hurt for us to listen to. I went to a private school when I was a teenager, and we had a uniform, so I never really had to think about what I wanted to wear. But when I was out of uniform, like on the weekends or when I went out on the evenings, my mom, you tried very hard to make sure I looked nice and to make sure I looked cool, and I was a teenager, so of course I was like, no, Mom, like I don't want you to dress me. But because I was so adamant about not listening, like I remember like going out when I was like 15 years old and wearing like a button-down shirt like tucked into like Jerry Seinfeld jeans that were like up to my belly button and like circa like 1996 like sneakers. Like it was like peak Jerry Seinfeld. And it could have been avoided if I had listened to you. So
Yeah, but you know,
why didn't you make me listen to you?
but I think that's the thing. That's why I decided to let Emma wear the whole, basketball outfit, because for so long I was like trying to dress you like Mr. Cool, and that just wasn't you.
I don't even know what point I was trying to make with that. I think I want someone to blame.
I think I know. You were a budding stand-up comedian. And we actually have a clip of you doing stand-up comedy.
Oh, wow.
On the Vimeo. If you guys could pick this up, I think it's like 4 minutes in. He has a joke about his childhood that will.
Do I need to set this up?
Yeah, please.
This is a joke I used to do about growing up, and my mom wouldn't buy me. She wouldn't buy me brand name foods because most of them were unhealthy, and it was infuriating. But there was one particular situation which was just the most like, I love you, Mom, and you raised me and you kept me alive. But this was just the most abhorrent breach of trust.
Okay, gotta see it.
Bear with me. But it brought me back to my childhood because my mom, when I was growing up, would buy healthy knockoffs of brand name foods. So, like, yeah, you've been there, you know. Trust me, I can feel your pain. So, like, for example, in elementary school, kids would come to lunch and they'd have fruit by the foot. And I'd get stuck with something like veggies by the metric. Or fruit leather, which technically, to be fair, is a real thing, but just like, listen to that again, fruit leather. That's just like random association of words. That would be like if I was like, Mom, can you please pack meat plastic in my lunch? I love meat plastic. Or the most... Yes, someone had meat plastic in their lunch. I guess we have a lot to talk about. You, one person. But the most egregious thing was all I wanted growing up. All I wanted were Fruit Loops. And I'd see the commercial every day with the toucan hawking his cereal. And it was all I wanted. And finally I said, Mom, please get me Fruit Loops. And she said, yes. And so I went to school, and it was all I could think of all day was getting them. And then I got home, and I ran into the kitchen, and I could see the grocery bag on the counter. And I ran to it, and I tore the grocery bag apart, and I could see the box of cereal, and I hoisted it up like Mufasa holding up Simba in the Lion King. It was like a biblical moment, and all I wanted was to see that glorious toucan, and I lifted it up, and there was a monkey on the box. Because in her infinite wisdom, my mom had instead purchased low-fat, low-sugar fruit circles.
So I want to defer to our parenting expert.
Fruit circles acceptable? No? Yes?
Well, let's
Because
see.
certainly that moment left an impact on me.
I think there was a breach of trust.
If your mom said you're going to come home to Fruit Loops, then you should have come home to Fruit Loops. Absolutely.
Leslie, don't stand in the corner.
But you know something. Here's the thing. Look how well you still turned out great. You weren't psychologically damaged, I don't think.
It's true. Well, and I will say, I did learn a lot of good eating habits growing up that stuck with me. And also like you weren't like too out there. It wasn't like one of those houses where the only snack I could have was like a tablespoon of granola. and some kale. You know, it wasn't like that.
Yeah, except for when there was the Northridge earthquake, and I don't know if you remember this, but there was like nothing to eat. Everything had fallen out of our refrigerator. We had to go stay with my mother-in-law. We were starving, and we were in Sherman Oaks, and we saw there was this huge line around In-N-Out. And at that time, Dan was really against us eating red meat. He was like, I don't want you guys eating burgers or anything. And
I just want to just a point of order. Dan is my father. He's not some stranger who holds power over our meat eating habits.
So we drove up to In-N-Out.
Well, Dan says, "Well, what does Dad say?"
What is anything?
Oh my God.
We get there. We're like in line. I'm like, don't tell Dad. Whatever you do, don't tell Dad that we're doing this.
Or Dan.
Or Dan. And lo and behold, there is this Channel 11 news truck.
Oh, busted. That's like an episode of Leave It to Beaver. He would always think he was getting away with something, and then he wins the bicycle. And how am I going to hide a bicycle?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So that's
Can I ask these two? Because they're 11
They are
and they're in
youngsters.
the thick of it.
Sure.
I'm going to ask you first, Drez. I want to know if you guys can be honest, if you appreciate it when your moms are hard on you about things or insistent about things that they know are good for you.
When my mother really wants me to do something that I really do not want to do, I try to make myself think that this is a good thing. But
do you give her any resistance, or do
yes,
you do argue with her?
Yes.
So by this is a good thing, is it cleaning out your ears or shoveling the garage? What is a good thing? Like your homework or?
I mean, at our school we don't have homework. It's
that's right.
Project based.
Project based. Yes.
And what was I saying?
Yeah, no, that you do on some level appreciate that it's a good thing for you to be doing it.
Yeah.
But do you feel like it's kind of your job to resist? Because then the next time they're going to just throw more stuff at you if you don't at least put up some sort of a fight.
I don't normally I normally put up a fight. I resist wanting to do and admitting that I don't want to do something. Mm-hmm. But most of the time I do it, and I do realize how it does help me.
Right. You do understand the point they're attempting to make. When your mom puts a microphone in front of you,
I resist.
No pressure.
I resist on a lot of things, but the one thing that I try to resist on, but I really can't, is food, because the eating habits are the one thing that, like you said, you grow up to have those eating habits, and I want that when I grow up. And even though I might not like that as a kid, my taste will get used to it when I grow up. Mm-hmm. And we're not the healthiest family in the world, but it's nice to have some vegetables and healthier foods than what you can have.
Yeah, I mean, to at least understand what's good for you and what isn't, so that when you're older and you have to put food, like Josh is at a point where I could say to him, what's in your fridge? You're 28 years old. Do you now possess Fruit Loops, or are you holding up the Fruit Circles tradition?
You know what? It's mostly just a lot of cheap beer at this point in my life.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Because he's financially responsible.
Yeah, because there's a certain point where it's no one's bringing me a snack.
Right.
I have to go out and forage for my own snack. And so what are you choosing? What has your childhood kind of informed you in terms of what even tastes good? Because you can get to where really sugary food is not even something you would desire. Yeah. What were you going to say, Lisa?
I because he said cheap beer and I said something about finance. I wonder, Kay or Kate?
Kate.
Kate.
Oh, Coach K.
Or Coach K.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's what I was. Okay,
Her
Coach
name is
K. I want to call
Catherine.
you Coach
Yeah.
K. Do you deal a lot with parents and how they are fiscally raising their children? Because this is something that, for me, is a very big topic. He does chores. He gets an allowance. Although we try to say this is just your allowance, but the chores are because you're part of the family. But he knows he's getting money because he did some work. But I want him to grow up to be this perfect blend of financially responsible, but not feeling guilty if you spend some money on yourself because you want to give yourself a treat, but not doing that too much. And I'm wondering if you run into that a lot with parents. And
Absolutely. Yes. It's a big question.
Yeah.
So the number one thing is...
What's the answer?
Okay, well, for $5,000.
See, but that... Hold on,
Fiscal
Garrett.
responsibility
That
right there.
would not be fiscally
It's going to
responsible.
run you.
That's right. Obviously, it's, we can always, more generally speaking, transmit something we have. So if we're good with money ourselves.
Transmit something we see. You don't even realize these gems that you're just like kind of floating into the conversation. Like,
That is a gem.
transmit something we have. You have to possess it to give it away.
I think it's always better, right, to live by example, but it doesn't mean, there's parents that say, smoking cigarettes, who does it anymore? But there are those people that, it's, I can't tell my kid not to drink because, no, you can. He's only 8, and it's okay to tell him not to do that. You can tell him not to do
heavy
that. That's right.
Beer and wine. You're only 8.
Right. Just because you don't have it together, let's focus on your child and not on you.
Right.
You're trying to get over your narcissism, and I'm trying to help you raise a good child. So when it comes to the fiscal responsibility, it's good to let kids know how much things are.
A lot. Things are
but,
a lot.
But that's not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Not right now.
But of course, as you said, you don't want to shame them into you got this great bike, and you should feel really bad because a lot of kids don't have that. And
Right.
the way to get kids to have appreciation is to give them chores. Do not pay your children for chores. Extra painting the house, that's different. If they get special projects, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't get paid for doing laundry. And the only way that kids feel a part of a team. So let me ask you something. And I get Garrett.
Yeah.
Do you play sports?
I do play sports.
What
I
do you play?
baseball.
Baseball. All right. Have you ever sat on the bench for a while and not gotten? I mean, I don't know if you've ever had that happen where you just sit on the bench for a while.
I have.
And do you feel like a part of the team when you're sitting on the bench?
Not really.
Right. So when kids are sitting on a bench, they don't feel a part of a team. So in order for them to feel like contributors, or not to feel like, to be contributing to your household, they need to be a part of it. They're not contributing monetarily. So the only way for them to do that is to do chores on a regular basis and not just giving the dog water once a week. Daily chores. Then they are taking ownership and learning how to do something well by mastering that chore. And they know that their contribution is valuable. So that's where you start. And then educating them. I want you to know how much this is and how much, just because it's your job, and starting to give them an allowance. And the great thing about the allowance is that, and they get that because they're part of the family. You don't have to do anything. You're part of this family, and every week you get $500. No, $5, whatever it is that you decide.
Right.
And then you tell them, I'm going to go shopping at Target or wherever you go for your winter jacket. But if you want something from Valsurf, can we say a show on here?
Why
or someplace
not?
else? So
like
then,
Valsurf.
so you tell them, but if you want that extra designer thing, you need to save up for that. So that's the beginning of teaching them, this is how much we're allocating for your clothes. But if you want the special stuff, save up for it. So that's the beginnings of teaching them some fiscal responsibility. And then if you want them to give to charity, then maybe a little bit of their allowance goes into, to a charity they like. And always you save something.
And that charity, that's a tax write-off, so you should take advantage of that.
Nice.
Well, it
Good
depends
call.
on who's in office, correct? But
Right.
but that's a good way to start to teach them about awareness of others, that we contribute. So does that help?
A lot. I think that's fantastic.
Good.
Oh, is Wendy there? Wendy.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Hi. Wendy Zier is here.
Hi.
Hello. Where are you zooming in from?
I am in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Nice.
And thank you for having me, everyone. And I wanted to say, Josh, I would have gotten you those Fruit Loops.
Thank you.
It's not
Yeah,
too late.
I sprinkled them on my kids' vegetables. They were going to get their Fruit Loops. That's how bad I am. But, yikes.
So do you have a question for Coach K?
I do. I first want to say I love everything. I was listening to everything that you said. I love the love and leadership, and I really buy into it. I get it. But here's my question. I do have two beautiful girls, 10 and 14, and they are drama kids. They're in theater, so that is part of it. I've been with their stepdad for 4 years. So they come from divorce, so I do parent out of guilt. I want them to like me. I hate when they don't, that kind of stuff. They're good, except they snap at me, like, Mom, you're going in my room, blah, 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 that. And my husband does not like when they're disrespectful. He doesn't put up with that, and he will get upset, or he'll calmly, give me your phone, go to your room, cut it out. And my little one, who does have some anxiety, I believe uses it, I think. Mommy, I need to feel my feelings, blah, blah, blah. And I'll go into the whole monologue, and he doesn't like that. And I don't love him disciplining them just because it hurts, so here's the question, Kate, should I buy into it and be quiet, or should I fight this fight? I mean, I think he's doing right. It just doesn't, sometimes it hurts.
So it's their stepdad disciplining them. I heard that if the step parent comes into the picture after a certain age, they should defer to the other parent in terms of the discipline end of things. But I just want to hear what Kate has to say.
Well, thanks for the question, Wendy. First of all, it depends. Again, I don't know your husband. So let's assume he doesn't need to go to anger management. He's just...
Oh, no.
Okay, all right.
Very kind.
Because that's a separate
very
issue.
calm.
Are you guys allowed to eat meat? Dan says no.
So,
Don't tell Dan. And stay away from the media, whatever you do.
So when it comes to stepdad or stepmom disciplining, now obviously if the biological parent is there, it's good that you're all on the same page. If you can all get on the same page. But I think that the step parent absolutely can discipline. Otherwise, you're sending a message to the children that, hey, your new stepdad or mom is a doormat. And if you have chosen, right? You chose well, a responsible adult, you trust this adult, then that adult has the right and to be authoritative with the kids.
It's just so you know, it is when they're disrespectful to me. That's what really, definitely is Achilles' heel. So it's all for, them doing the right thing. And their father, their real father, is minimally involved in their life. So a lot of it is just, I feel guilty a lot. I want them to, I love you, whatever you need to do. He's right.
I think
I appreciate you saying that.
I think that's a factor, Wendy, and even if it's, because you've said it right out loud, but I think for maybe a lot of people from divorced families, it's just subliminal. It's sort of like, I've done enough to this child. Let me buy her a cupcake. So how do you advise parents?
Well, let me just first, something you said that the kids snap. Can you give me an example of what that means? What does that look like? They snap at you.
Well, part of it is, it's the yelling and losing their tempers. And like my little one is very specific about her room, and Mommy, you went into my room. I told you not to. And she'll just, might throw something, not violently, no cursing, but angry and disrespectful. Mm-hmm. And it's sometimes it just doesn't even bother me because I get used to it, but he does not like that. And he is like, they cannot be doing that. We have to, snap them out of it. And the little one is the one who, uses my feelings against me, I think, because she knows that I'll hug her and I'm sorry. And, here's your phone back. Take it. Put on new apps, matter of fact. I love you that much. So
I just
have a Fruit Loop.
Right.
I just had this
Fruit Loop, a whole vat of Fruit Loops, please, delivered to your room. So, yeah.
I'm
a smother. They call me a smother.
Smother.
So.
Okay. All right. I just had this image of the zoo, actually, with you just going, just take this and... She throws something your direction? At you?
No, not at me, but she's like, where she'll throw her phone down, which is crazy. I'm like, you love that phone, but throw it down. And it's not, I don't want to, it's not violent or any of that kind of stuff, but she is 10 and her emotions are not as in check sometimes as other kids her age or her friends. And she's very mature usually, but when she snaps and things upset her, she starts going to that, I'm anxious, so you have to understand. I've got anxiety.
Okay.
So, it is a lot of...
She's using all the tools.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
she is working you.
Yes, she's working you. So I will...
I'm so played.
You had asked me a question, but I want to say that you also said something that she acts differently than her friends. You're not in their friends' homes.
Yeah, you
correct?
don't know. You don't see their meltdowns, so don't assume that they're not.
That is true.
So-
You're
so-
right. You're
yeah.
right. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would say that she's just playing along with the drama, and I say this respectfully, that you have created. She's playing the role.
Oh, yeah.
So the only way to pull the plug on that drama is for you to do it. And that's going to take a lot of work to turn that ship around. I'll be quite honest with you. Things can get worse before better, but they will get better. The guilt isn't serving her. That's more about you, and I can appreciate that. I really do. And that you need to take
Thank
care of
you.
you need to take care of that on your own, because that's more a statement about how you feel and making yourself feel better than really raising the adult that you want her to become. Yes?
I agree. Absolutely.
So-
it's short term. I want to feel better.
And if
make
you
her feel better. Feel better.
and
You-
if you
you
and
got
do
it.
you want I'm assuming you do want your marriage to be successful, yes?
Oh, of course.
Absolutely.
And this is probably the only issue that we have. I get upset and he's like, I'm not going to not let them talk to you like that. No way. And, and it is something that I'm like, I don't want to fight about it. I don't want to, we have a great marriage and they love him. He is so good to these children, but it's just something that just strikes me when he has to say, stop it, give me your phone, go to your room. I'm not putting up with it. It hurts because they're my kids. And I know.
But can I ask
that
you
he
a
was raised
question,
under-
Coach
Yes.
K?
that's
Yes.
part of it. Sure.
I feel, or I have learned over the last little bit, that kids feel safer when they're given boundaries and when they're being given, not being disciplined, but when there is discipline in the house. And I think, and she's mentioning that she has a child with anxiety, I think even more so if your kid has anxiety, you're helping them by being strong and by giving them boundaries. And you should almost more train your brain to feel guilty about letting them do whatever they want, because I think that creates an unsafe environment.
Yeah, if you're going to throw your phone, which is probably the most expensive thing that you own, then you're going to bend down, pick it up, and hand it to me for a day, because you don't get to throw your phone just because you're frustrated. You can punch a pillow.
Yeah,
you can punch a
and
pillow.
I
You can hit a
agree.
blanket. There are safer things to do when you feel frustrated.
Well, I mean, I don't know though, because how many box tops from Fruit Loops boxes do you have to trade in for a new phone? Because she might be
Many.
there already.
Yeah.
It's an iPhone 6 or 8 or whatever the newest one is. They're so
That's a lot of boxes of Fruit Loops.
And
Wendy.
how old is the girl who has the phone? How old is she?
10. She's 10.
Well, they both have a phone, and they're
All right.
14 and 10. They shouldn't have it. I get it. That this is another. My husband would have been like, they just give them a flip phone, give them an old phone.
All right, we're gonna.
But they have the newest ones. They have the best ones, and they love it.
We're going to
So,
jump off
yeah.
with you, Wendy. Continue watching, because we're going to address technology next, and I think you'll find it helpful. And
Thank you so much for having
much.
me. And you helped me a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Wendy.
Thank you. Bye, Wendy.
Bye, Wendy.
All right,
Bye, bye guys.
technology and kids, because
Yes.
I know that Coach K has written blogs about this, and it's something that's facing parents that our parents did not face, and I think it's just it's so confusing and so difficult to teach children how to use the technology that we're all going to need moving forward in a way that's healthy and productive, and not completely hijacking everybody's day and everybody's life.
Well, I just want to say that I feel like every time I walk into a restaurant or I see people, young people, nobody's having a conversation. They're sitting across from each other and they're on their phones. Nobody knows how to socialize anymore.
It's so tempting, and it's undeniably tempting to the adults as well as to the children, so that the adults can look at the children and be like, I get it. You're about to level up. I get it. But how do you, it's like the smoker saying, don't smoke, So we're all addicted to technology. How do we raise kids in a technological world to be safe, healthy users of technology?
Well, you made a good point. I will have parents, I'll say, let's start with you, and you're getting you aware of how much you use your phone. So they'll do a log for about a week. And not to shame the parent, just to get them aware of when did you turn the phone on? When did you look at, and is there anything you want to change? What can you do differently? I'll start with the parent first, and we'll do that for a week. And they'll get a really good sense of, oh my gosh, I didn't know that when I pick my son up from school, I'm also looking and checking the text, and I didn't know that. And when they have that awareness, that's the beginning of the parent changing his or her habits. But there's the thing about technology. One is if you don't have any boundaries with your child, if you can't get your 8-year-old to stop yelling at you or hitting you or put away their shoes, you're certainly not going to be able to tell that kid, turn off YouTube now. You're not going to know how to draw the boundaries because you're too concerned with your kid liking you, yada, yada, yada. So with technology, something very important is that this is the only time in history that children are teaching us about something. We have always taught them how to hunt, how to drive,
Right.
how to cook, how to this.
They definitely know how to merge calendars, and I can't.
Right. But they are teaching us how to do this because, when you hand your kid the phone, how did he know where this was?
Yeah, I don't even know how to
Right?
know. Yeah.
And the technology is always changing. So the most important thing is to teach kids to be responsible. And I really think that it starts with, it's all about boundaries. It really is. It's about whatever's important in your own home. We don't have our phones at the table during our meal. Mm-hmm. Are you going to give your kid an iPhone at 8 years old? Well, I know this is a hard thing to hear, but none of those kids should have a smartphone. And I hear, but all the other kids do. Mm-hmm. Well, all the other kids do a lot of other things. Well, this kid's smoking. I want my kid to smoke some weed too. Can I say?
How smart can their phone be? Can their phone be mildly intelligent? Like, you want to be able to pick up your kid and have him know that you're swinging around to pick him up, right? So, like, they're 11. So, have you kind of like, as a parenting coach, sat and said, all right, what are my policies going to be? Because it's tricky, right? And every kid is different and every family is different.
Every family, here's the thing is that the parents will say, but I want my kid to get in touch with me. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, does he need YouTube to get in touch with you? Well, okay. So if that's the reason, then your kid should not have a smartphone, no hotspot availability. The reason is that they can accidentally find sites that you don't want them to find. Mm-hmm. Look how much, the phones are a burden to us. And as much as they say, I want this, I need this, it's a burden for them too. They also are addicted to this. So while they're in your home, maximize your influence. Get them a flip phone, or a smartphone. They just came out with a new one, a smartphone that only texts. I don't know how smart that is. I don't know what it's called. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just want to say that I know when my daughter was in middle school, they were encouraging, everybody to have their phones because they were using the phones for part of the curriculum. And, so that was, well, Mom, I need to have a phone because I can't do my homework unless I have a phone.
Well, I have to tell you that when I talk with different administrators, a lot of that is backfired.
Yeah, I think we're all learning. We're kind of learning with the technology. Garrett.
From just from a kid's perspective on phones,
sure.
I won't lie, I am addicted to my phone. Mm-hmm. And it has been a thing that when I started to go to a school much further away, and taking a bus, it's like I went on a field trip and my bus broke down, and that was helpful to let my mom know that I was going to be late. Mm-hmm. It is sort of helpful to have a phone in certain situations, but like stuff like no phones at the table, and I've seen people like on their phones while driving. That is the part that like scares me. Mm-hmm. That's the part where like phones are like just getting in the way of all life at this point.
Yeah, I think we all have to learn how to delay gratification. That it's really tempting to want to look at the phone, but there's life going on around you that you're missing, and it's designed to be tempting. Like, I would turn off all notifications. Like, they're there when you look. When you look, you'll see if you. But I don't think we need to be notified every time like there's breaking news or something. Like, if you want to look at the news, go look at the news.
And we didn't have to. You had to deal with that more with my sister Emma, but that was less of a problem with me because when I was a kid and phones were coming out, it was the rise of flip phones, and even then, I remember it was still kind of a big deal. But I remember having the phone, and really the worst the worst that any of us could do with the flip phones was, I remember one time we were all in the bus coming home from school, and some kid got the office number for the director of admissions at our at our middle school, and we started coming up with these one kid with a deep voice pretended to be a parent, and we came up with this kid who had all these. You could write a book about this kid that we made up that we tried to get into my school, but the point was that was really the worst we had to deal with, because you can't do much else
and that's
with a flip phone.
age-old fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just a
Oh, yeah.
prank phone call.
I just have to kind of throw something out for my daughter and her friends, because I am proud of them. When they go out to dinner, they throw their phones in the middle of the table.
Oh, I love that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, can I ask you a question? I have this idea that exposing my son to technology is going to kind of like eventually like he's going to get bored of it, because he's seen it, he's experienced everything from like a super young age. So either he's going to get bored, or he's going to like sneak off to have like, when they start offering like the surgery to put like microchips in our brains, like he'll be like first in line to do that. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say no to your kids when like you want them to be like a part of what's going on in the world.
He's how old? Yeah, 7.
He's 7. He'll be 8 in May.
So does he have his own iPhone?
No, he doesn't have phones right now. He has he plays like Fortnite, so he has a Switch and he has an Xbox, and he has an iPad. But
He's very intelligent. And I don't think technology is ever going to get boring for anyone, because they keep changing it. It keeps adapting. And so, like, the last time Ryder was here, he was just like, yeah, they have, and Garrett, you guys would know this, they have these new, whatever it's called for Fortnite. Like Ryder was telling me about, he was excited about whatever they had just added to Fortnite. So I think they make it endlessly fascinating.
yeah.
Well, they have the thing that's so smart about Fortnite is they literally have an update once every single week to keep wanting you to say, I want to see this for the whole week. And once you say, okay, it's gone, there's this new thing that they say a week before it even comes out. So every week there's going to be something new.
Yeah.
If it's a skin, if it's a gun, if it's anything in the game, that they make it it's new every single time.
Yeah.
And once every 3 months they have a new thing called a season, which makes you more hooked than the first time you even played it.
Yeah, well, Fortnite is like a whole other thing. But there's a lot of ways that I feel like he's benefited from technology. Like, he watches a lot of YouTube, and he'll just be like spouting these facts like, Mom, did you know a banana is a berry and a strawberry like really isn't? And he's like coming up with this stuff all the time. And I feel like he's learned, like, he probably knows more than me, and he's 8. And it's thanks to technology. So it's just hard to know, like, where do you draw the line?
Well, I think with everything there's good and there can be bad. With everything in life, too much cake, bad. I tell parents, give your kid books. They're in your home. Parents, when they want to when they can have control, I mean, not control freak, when they can have authoritative control, they don't take it. And when they desperately want it, when the child is 11, 12, 13, it's too late to get it.
It's like anything else, too, because books, when they first came out, people were freaking out because every book was written with a chapter ending so that you had to turn the page and start what's going to happen? And people were like, you're just walking around with your nose in a book. You're gonna fall into a ditch. But it sounds funny, but it's actually true. So we still have to learn how to control our behavior. Like, you can read the book after you've done your work. And go ahead, Garrett.
One thing, going back to what she said, books. Technology and YouTube has gotten me more smart and more dumb at the same time.
I love that. That is very astute.
I have learned more facts than I would have ever learned at school until like high school, or maybe even ever. And that's the part that makes me smarter. But on the other hand, I'm watching videos that I don't even know what I'm watching. I'm just watching them because there's nothing else to do.
So, Kate, what are the guidelines that you, if a parent comes to you, and let's say it's a class, and
Yes.
you're teaching the class,
Yes.
like, all right, in terms of screen time, here is what I recommend.
Yes. All right. First of all, I have to acknowledge this kid.
Yes.
You are incredible. Makes me cry.
Aw.
Okay, I'm very moved by you because you're so aware. You are incredibly self-aware. What you said, I'm addicted to technology, and it's made me smart, and it's also made me stupid. Well, it's not made you stupid at all. It's made you smart and made you smarter. And what you're really saying is, I need an adult to say, you're done.
Where can I find that
I
person?
don't know how to help you with this.
His name is Dan.
So it's really impressive because he has told you everything about it. He's saying, this is where I'm at. This is what I need. And
so here's what I will say.
Yes.
We have, it used to be out of control, the Fortnite playing. It was constant. Then I took it away completely during the week. For 2 to 3 weeks, there was no weekday Fortnite.
Yes.
And very limited on the weekends. And
Yes.
I will say that changed everything in my house. Now,
Yes.
he now plays about 30 to 40 minutes on weekdays, unless he has baseball or we do something like today or he hasn't done his chores. And then he gets a lot of hours on the weekends, but we don't let it stop us from doing family outings or whatever. But, oh, shoot, I completely lost my... Oh, no, but what I was going to say is, however, when he's off of Fortnite, he's on his iPad and he's watching episodes of The Office or he's watching videos or sometimes it is NASA stuff or whatever. But I am finding, and I would like to know with Drez too, if he thinks that this is going on with him, I am finding, I just heard him say, I will watch videos I don't even know what I'm watching because there's nothing else to do. There are so many other things to do.
Yes.
I just can't get him to do them.
I want to speak to that for me. And I'm saying this is plug your ears, please, kids. When a parent says, "I just can't get them to," it tells me a lot. Not a judgment on you, and it's in the air. It's what all parents are doing. We want the child to do it for himself. A lot of times, I need you to self-regulate. Like I hear principals say, "Well, Joe is not self-regulating. He's 5," and I go, "Well, that really means that you don't want to discipline him, and you want the parent." That's what does it mean? So I'm supposed to. I mean, we know what it means, but what does it mean to this? He can't self-regulate. Okay. What your son is telling you is, I need a boundary. And by the way, he doesn't have to like it. I don't expect Garrett to turn around and say, "Well, thank you so much. I love this boundary." In fact, I'm so happy that I mentioned that in that podcast because now you're really doing the things that I've expected and hoped for you to do.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
His job is to test you and your job is to pass.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So there needs to be boundaries, all about boundaries. Well, he doesn't do anything else. Well, when you have a bright, shiny screen there with everything under the sun at their fingertips, there's nothing else in the world. Right? It's like putting a guy in a club that's, it's like, I just want you to focus on the book. It's not going to happen. So you have to say, I'm done. It's that simple. I'm done. And
Do
now
they hand over the device?
No.
No.
Here's the thing. There's a lot about the boundaries just have to be clear. In other words, you have to come up with, you and your husband, or if you're a single mom, what are the boundaries in the house going to be? I recommend what you did. I say to parents, managing this during the week is very hard. Oh, I'm done with my homework. Then kids just want to get done with their homework so they can play the game of Fortnite, and you don't really know if they're done with their homework, and then you're micromanaging and checking it. It's insanity.
Right.
So have it turned off during the week. Is it going to be hard at first? Yes, it's going to be hard. If your kid's addicted, you must go cold turkey. That's the only way with technology, if a child is addicted. And now addicted is different than just, right? You know that. So you know by a kid's mood when you turn it off, if they're angry, if they're throwing things, if they drop F-bombs at you because you turned it off, that's not good. It's not good for them. So there's something called Custodio. It's wonderful. And it is an automatic shut off. You can give it tell it the time you want that to shut off. So you're out of the mix. Kid's going to get mad at that website, Custodio, not at you. And so what I tell parents is,
Garrett.
so I tell parents there's other ones. I don't get a toaster or whatever I would get for a new car for that. But there are other, and I'm not a technology expert, so always look around. But I will say that that's all about boundaries. I say nothing during the week. And you have to know what your kids are watching, and never technology in the bedroom, ever. That's number one. And when your son says, oh, no, I don't, and when I hear parents say, oh, no, my son doesn't go to those sites, or I don't go to this site. And I'll say to that mom, well, until you've spent an hour in your 13-year-old's body,
Right.
you don't have the right to say that. Boy, generally. So you didn't hear what I just said. Anyway, so, but never in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And that means if they're taking your iPhone and going in the bedroom, you have to let go of not wanting to upset them. It doesn't mean you hover over them, but you really must know where they're going. If you don't know where they're going, well, we all know that those stories don't usually end well
Sure.
if it's something. And know who they're meeting online. You don't have to know the game of Fortnite, but you know who's coming on there.
Yeah, we do. We talk about that.
And there's lots of there's lots to talk about with technology. Yeah,
Garrett.
It's your show.
Well,
No, that was
the
great. That was great.
Thing is with me, I have learned that about a year ago, I would have needed that website custodian. Like, that is something where, like, I would have resisted. I would have wanted, like, and I still do sometimes resist. But lately, I've sort of been noticing that when my mom tells me to get off, I usually say, there's about 20 minutes in an average Fortnite game.
Mm-hmm.
I'll usually say, can I finish this game? And my mom knows that I won't go into another one. She's seen me. She knows I get off about 5 minutes after she says to get off.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, on weekends, there's a lot of instances where I go and I turn on my iPad. And that is a habit that I can break, just like the one that I have had. And I go and spend time with my family. And that is just something where it's just not, from a kid's perspective, I don't think you always need that sort of website. Sometimes you just have to get used to the fact that the parent needs to tell you when to get off and when to,
And you need to hear them when they say it.
yeah. And I at least most of the time, ask permission to get on.
Oh, you do. Okay.
Absolutely.
Can I ask a follow-up question to Coach K about this, which is, I was reading an article a while back about the kind of rise of this niche industry of video game coaches, and it kind of came up because you had all these moms and dads that wanted to be able to bond with their kids over video games. And so whether it's like Fortnite or my drug of choice is, you guys know Hearthstone? No? Okay.
Oh.
I didn't even think it was that old.
No.
Anyway, it's good. It's fun. You should check it out. It's a card game. It's awesome. But whatever the game is, there are all these dads who start shelling out all this money for like weekly lessons because they wanted to play at a more competitive level, because they felt that if they could play Overwatch or Fortnite or Hearthstone or whatever at a more competitive level, it would be a better bonding experience for them with their kids. And I was wondering what your take on that is. I guess more generally speaking, just what's your take on parents using video games as a way to bond with their kids?
Well, kids aren't cookie cutter. I recommend Leonard Sack's book, The Collapse of Parenting. If you have boys, I recommend his book, Boys Adrift. Get them away from technology. Go jet ski. Go climb a mountain. There's a lot of other ways to bond. And I got to tell you, I just don't, I don't see anything great about that. It's one thing to sit down for a few minutes and, or say, hey, what are you doing? And check it out. I just, when we were kids, when I was a kid, my parents weren't going, hey, let me see that, whatever I was into. Let me bond with you and get down on the floor and play and understand what you're doing. Our job is to understand technology and to protect our kids from it and make sure that they are making wise choices. But I say, show them bond with them in 1,000 other ways.
If you think about 30 years from now, and you're going to look back and say, what did I do with Dan? It's not going to be like we leveled up. It's going to be like we climbed up there, or we went, saw a ghost town, or whatever you did. It's going to be that memory, not something technological?
Well, I feel like there was leveling up. It was just, we went to another level of the love that a father has for his son.
That was well said. Life is like, listen, it's a short window we have with our kids
to make memories. You get
Yes.
one childhood, and I feel like the technology, and Garrett and Drez, you can kind of speak to this, but I feel like the technology is kind of going to blend together as every game of Fortnite will sort of blend together. But the day that you and Russ did this or that, or the day that you kind of built a thing and then it shot a rocket or whatever, I don't know. I think those are going to be more individual and distinct memories than just the whole blur of technology.
I do think
That's a
that
great
there's
point.
something to be said, like, video games have been around since like the mid 80s now, so it's not like there's people who are, the age of having kids that they grew up with video games and so I think it's hard to be like, it's one thing if a parent is trying to enter that world and like bond with them that way, but I think it's also like, I think there's probably a lot of parents who played Super Mario and they're like, oh, I want to like show you my NES, and I don't think necessarily there's anything wrong with it. It's the same idea as like, oh, like check out these Led Zeppelin vinyls I have. Like,
Sure.
I think there's something to be said about
of course,
showing your kids, like
It's
finding
just part
hobbies
of-
that both of you.
It's just woven into the
But
tapestry of
it-
life rather than being this
Right.
like blanket that snuffs out the rest of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's well said. I appreciate that. I think it's a great example that it's one thing to just say, hey, let me show you my Super Mario. Let's for a few minutes. This is what I was into. It's another thing to invest thousands of dollars and then sit down going,
Coaching.
okay, Tyler, for 8 hours and we're going to do this. You know what I'm saying? I think that's different. And if it comes from the, I want you to like me, I want to be the cool dad, I just don't think that's a good enough motivator. Our job is to raise our kids up. And really, we should breathe a different air, quite frankly. I'm just saying.
All right, we're going to
Okay.
move to Facebook feed time because I chose something from my mom, who was awesome mom.
Let's give it up for Mom.
And she is also hashtag Tetris addict. Okay, as long as we're talking about video. But she will be the first to readily admit it. So my mom reposted something. She's mastered Facebook, so she has reposted something that I find kind of adorable. It's on the Starbucks mug, it says Kark, and then the caption is, I said my name was Mark with a C. My mom recognized that as adorable.
That is adorable.
And shared it on Facebook. Mastery.
Pretty amazing. My mom would have tried to share that on Facebook and instead emailed everybody a blank page.
How about those people on Facebook who think that the Facebook inbox is their feed and they send you a thing that they should just be posting? You don't have to respond to those, right?
Or the reverse, where they'll like post on their feed. They'll be like, or like on someone's status, they'll be like, "Hey, like,
yes,
how are you doing? Like, we should catch up." And
that's
it's like,
right.
this is
Be
like
crazy, but
this
it's
is a
like
comment
opposite,
on like a comedy show I went to. Like, this is not the venue to catch up.
But it's always
Susan.
like someone's like status about like, well, after 13 great years, my dog Poochers passed away, and then the
like,
third
how
comment
are you,
down,
Kark?
it's like tequila shots and Tito's on Friday.
Yeah,
It's been a long time, bro.
It's like you wish, like, happy birthday, Sharon, and then instead of someone wishing Sharon a happy birthday, they comment on your post like, yeah, happy birthday. Hey, you start your own thread. This is my happy birthday.
Or I love when they post their phone number and their address.
It's like, I feel like people, those are the people who are driving and playing Fortnite while they post on Facebook.
One of the reasons I've been off social media for 4 months.
All right, so
And
today was
Louise,
kind of a...
I'm sorry. I just wanted to real quick because you mentioned that you're talking about Fortnite and gaming with parents and kids, and you mentioned that your mom is a big Tetris fan.
She is.
So,
Addict.
actually, a big Tetris. So I have something actually that you and your mom can do together. I just found out about this today. You guys might have heard about this already. Tetris 99. Have you guys heard about this?
I'm already in love with it, and I don't even know what you're about to say next.
So the company that makes Tetris, or the company that makes Tetris now, because the game was actually developed in some like Soviet computer lab.
Yes, it
was. But the company that makes it now, they released something called Tetris 99, and it's a battle royale version of Tetris. Wow, that was fast.
Wow, Lisa and I are both completely. Yeah, Garrett, your mother. She may be like, hey, you with the Fortnite. her with Tetris.
Yeah,
Oh,
before
yeah.
you came.
And
Yes,
so
to
now
have a
you guys can
problem.
play this, and it's basically like PUBG or Fortnite, but with Tetris. So it's 99 people playing Tetris at the same time, and the last man or woman standing wins.
I will
I'm
not
ignoring
download that.
everything
I
that
will never
Coach
see
K
any of you
has
again.
said.
I would never see you.
I won't do
We
it.
would never see anyone again.
How young is your mom?
My mom is 89 years young.
Oh,
All right. What's Twitter trending? It was a very controversial Twitter day, and I don't know the politics of everybody here on the panel, so I stayed away from that, and I just went with hashtag parenting.
Oh.
And it's fun to try different hashtags and see what's there. So hashtag parenting. Sid tweets, you don't have to be a parent to point out bad parenting. How do we feel about this? Because it feels like everyone
Bad.
has an opinion about other people's kids. Can anyone
I
relate?
Personally, okay. I think that before I had a child, I was incredibly judgmental about how people parented.
Same.
And I was mostly wrong or just not realizing how hard it is.
What they were up against.
Correct.
Yeah.
So have I done that? Yes. If I could go back in time, would I do it again? No. And I think just like anything, if you haven't been there, you really don't have a right. Now, you could say to a friend, I might be crazy, but it seems like you're letting your kid walk all over
Yeah, like
you.
maybe no bullets in the gun. I don't
Right,
know.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just a thought.
Right,
Yeah.
that type of thing, sure. But yeah, I just think, I remember having Garrett, and he was just an infant, and a friend of mine saying that when I have a baby, I'm going to keep doing everything exactly the way I do it now. And that baby will just have to come with me. If I have a gig, that baby comes to the gig. If I want to go out to breakfast, the baby will come to breakfast. And I was like,
Hashtag hippie parent.
yeah. Or hashtag shut up.
Yeah.
Because no, you're not. And sure, you'll do, I kept my life as much the same as I could. And I did take him out with me. And he didn't have a very rigid napping schedule and all of that. But come on, don't look at a new mom and say all the things that you're going to do better or differently.
I don't know if you've seen the video on social media. There's this overseas flight, and there's this kid on the plane, and he's screaming the entire flight. I don't know if anybody's seen it.
No.
But it's really interesting to read all the comments.
Yeah, take one screaming baby and you're going to have a million opinions.
Yeah, I mean, this was an older kid. I don't know if he was on the spectrum or what the situation was.
But that's just it. You don't know.
You don't know. But I will say this. Anytime this is pre-child, anytime I was in a restaurant and a parent would let their baby cry or their child scream or a kid run up and down, I'd say, I will never do that. That is the rudest thing ever. And I have never done that. If he made a peep in a restaurant, because he was my responsibility, I'd take him outside and tell him to chill. And to me, that's common sense.
Yeah.
And I think common sense needs to be a little more pervasive, not just in parenting, but in just being a human
In life,
being.
it goes a long way.
Yeah.
I have a question for Dr. K. I wonder if
not a
there's-
doctor, just to let you know.
Sorry,
But that
Coach.
sounds good.
Oh,
Go
can we
ahead.
call you Dr. K
Well,
though?
go
No,
ahead.
I think I love how
She's
that
like a doctor
sounds.
in the way that Dr. Dre is a doctor.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I wonder if there's, because I feel like there's a such a component of misogyny to like judging parenthood, because I think it's really judging like mothers, motherhood.
Okay.
And I wonder if, because on like social media, like people love to hate like moms, right? Like wine moms or like cool moms or hipster mom. Like everybody like has a mom that they like love to hate. And I wonder if that has like some kind of correlation with what you talk about in terms of like people like not wanting to be like a certain kind of parent because they want to be like cool. And it's like it's hard to be cool and like the kind of parent that you're advocating for.
That's a good point.
It's a very good point. So there's something called the insidious mother bar. Mothers judge other mothers more intensely than at any time.
Oh, wow.
You know, the parent who's most involved in her child's school activities is the best mother of all. And, you know, we really do terrible things to other mothers, quite frankly, with our judgment. So I think it's a good point. And of course, the internet is, I mean, the way, you know, the way to express your cowardice is to I can hide behind anything and give my point of view. So, but go
I
ahead.
would love to say two things to that. One, I'm starting a bar restaurant called the Insidious Mother Bar, and we serve judgment and drinks.
There you go.
Secondly, I also want to say that what you just said about how we can be so judgmental, we also do the other thing, which is compare ourselves
all the time
and think, oh my God, why is she making cookies again with her kid?
Right.
Why does he love baking so much with her? And then, oh my God, they're on a hike together.
Yes.
So I actually got off social media because I was constantly comparing myself to other moms' snapshots of their lives instead of just living my own.
Compare is always despair, isn't it?
Absolutely.
What I was going to say was that when I dropped my daughter off at college for her freshman year. It was a Friday, and she was all excited. She went to a frat party. Saturday morning, she was crying. She was miserable. She wanted to come home. We ended up having dinner with some friends that lived in that town where she goes to school, and she came with us to dinner, and she was crying. She just couldn't stop crying. She was scared. And anyhow, this woman who lived in this town that was with us says to me when we got after dinner, she pulls me over and she goes, you know what your problem is? You're a helicopter mom. You've been a helicopter mom for just way too long. And I just, I didn't even know how to respond to this.
Anyone who begins a sentence with "you know what your problem is," I don't care what's coming next.
Totally
shoving their finger in your chest.
Like I'm just being honest.
Oh, ouch! That's an ouch right there. Yeah. There you go.
Gross.
That's a great example of.
Don't even worry about that. All right, we have to finish up the show, so I have a couple more tweets to share with you. This is from Jack's dad. Under the hashtag parenting. I have 2 kids and I don't drink either coffee or alcohol. I feel like I'm playing this game on the expert difficulty setting and losing. And from Luke Fevin.
Well, that one feels easy, by the way. You just give one kid coffee, one kid alcohol.
And you take a nap. From Luke Fevin, parenting is hard. I'm trying to teach my 10-year-old son that vagina is not a dirty word, but that he still needs to pick a different name for his hamster.
That's amazing.
Life is complicated.
Life is complicated.
All right, what does everyone have to plug?
Well, I just want to say that Drez here is an incredibly smart and articulate kid. I think because this is his first time here, he didn't get a chance to speak that much.
Drinking it all in.
But I'm hoping he's going to come back and show you how awesome he is.
Yeah, no, he's drinking it all in.
Yes.
And also, he's not that good of a parent. So
he's a terrible
We'll have something
parent.
that he can speak to next time.
Good.
Josh is on. I know that Josh has something to plug because Josh is a hashtag actor.
My mom, who was not helicoptering, just very subtly reminded me to plug it. But I do a little. I'm not doing comedy. I do a little acting, a little theater on the side. And you can catch me on this new season of True Detective.
What do you play?
I play the very important role of employee at bookstore. Mm-hmm. And you can catch me in my very meaty scene in episode 6 of season 3 of True Detective.
Are you a suspect? Or
well, I can't tell you because the season's not over yet.
Oh, I see.
We're just hoping HBO gives them a spin-off series.
Nice.
So how did you find Mahershala in process?
You know what? I did not get to work with Mahershala. And I met him a couple times. A very, very nice guy. I did share a scene with Carmen Jago, who's the female lead. And she's awesome. She was great too. She didn't get in my way. She didn't upstage me. She really kind of let me have my moment. And I'll forever be grateful to her for that.
That is awesome. Yeah. Leslie, what's going on?
I have a documentary called Above Sunset about a mid-century modern community called Crestwood Hills. I'm hoping to have it out by 2020.
Wow.
Lisa?
I just shot 3 episodes of something that I'm not sure I'm allowed to talk about.
Ooh, can we play a guessing game? What does it rhyme with? I have a documentary called Margaret Singer, Seeking Light. And I have to learn the title because we just kept renaming it. But it's going to actually premiere at the Santa Barbara Jewish Film Festival on March 10th. And it's about a beautiful 97-year-old artist named Margaret Singer, who I'm completely obsessed with. And you will be too once you watch the film.
At that festival,
Yeah.
are there a lot of like people in the audience? What? Did you?
Hello?
I didn't hear.
Hello?
What did you? Can you understand any of this?
Could you lean a little to the left? Just thank you.
The whole
Yes.
theater smelled like mothballs. We couldn't figure it out.
Yes. My sister is the most hilarious person anyone has ever met. And every year at the Jewish Film Festival, she looks at the schedule, and one year she was just like, I was wondering why every morning they show a movie called Bagels and Cream Cheese. That must be the most popular. And my husband was like, no, honey, they serve every morning at 8, they serve.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, so if you want to make a movie that would be a hit at every Jewish film festival, make a movie called Bagels and Cream Cheese.
Sounds really good.
Kate.
Yes. So if you're a mom or a dad out there and you want to draw rock solid boundaries with empathy with your children, my website is icoachmoms.com. Or if you're a kid and your mom yells at you and nags you and tells you to do things 100 times and you want her to stop, have her shoot me an email.
Thank you all for being with us. And thank you to Connor McGlynn and Lane McFadden. I'm Louise Palenker. Thank you, David Court. Dina Friedman, we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Hey.